All right there.
Dangerfield, Dangerfield.
And focus. All right there. Well, the good news from the outset, of course, is the Iconoclast and Way of the World got their channels back, but it does leave more questions than answers. The only thing I can think is that they're testing out some new algorithm, and Dan and Way of the World and James Allsop and a couple of others I've heard, it lit up like a Christmas tree, and so they lost their channels. I honestly don't think, as much as hassling YouTube on Twitter and other social media does have some kind of effect, I think maybe they're rolling out some new AI, and then there's a manual sort of human, dare I say it, working at YouTube, who's actually gone through those accounts afterwards and realised that it's absolutely brutal to get rid of channels that have strictly maintained the terms of service. But nonetheless, it's so harsh. I mean, it's their jobs, and I know there's so many non-YouTubers who say, well, if you don't want all the uncertainty of being a YouTuber, get a proper job. It's not real work and all this, and that's bullshit. These people are dedicating the majority of their lives to making this content, and there's more to that people don't seem to understand. Someone like Dan, the Iconoclast, how easy do you think it would be for him to get another job now? Now, in this climate of hate speech, which is, absolute nonsense and can be kind of adhered to anything you say, as long as it's not going with if it's opposed to the progressive orthodoxy, it's hatred. And employers don't want that shit. Even if you're brilliant at your job, even if you're totally qualified and you've proven yourself, they don't want the hassle. They don't want the risk. They don't want people to rock the boat, and they will not employ these people. And I just seen recently, I see a bloke in the UN, and it was one of the most terrifying things I've seen. I've talked a lot about censorship, I've talked a lot about hate speech, but in this video, this man said that the EU is making migration speech, his words, I'm not paraphrasing, migration speech illegal. And as he's talking this, I mean, I'm nearly having an heart attack thinking, is this a dream? Is this happening? You're legislating against migration speech. They're making it illegal to criticise immigration into Europe. Just let that sink in. And after he explains that, he goes on to talk about how he's looking at you, the media, when it comes to this. The big voices, the voices with authority, the voices with influence. It's a warning to them. You dare go criticising mass African immigration into Europe, and you'll be breaking the law and you'll be penalised for it. I mean, there's half of me that's glad. They're not even pretending anymore. Oi, white people, stop complaining. How dare you white people have an in-group preference? That it's all right for everyone else, but not you. And you just sit down and shut up and take it. Absolutely terrifying. I saw a study that was published this week, and it was looking at in-group, out-group bias. And it had the blacks, the Hispanics, Asians, white liberals and whites. And the blacks, the Hispanics, the Asians and the whites all had a significant and kind of equal on the chart. I mean, blacks had a slight, gain on the rest, but it was all kind of within the same sort of measurement. And then in the negative, for their own in-group preference and bias was white liberals. There was no black liberals in there, because black liberals are totally up for supporting themselves. The blacks. Same with Hispanics and Asians. But white liberals were in the negative, meaning they put other people before themselves at the cost to themselves, at their own detriment, considerably. Just absurd. Just, bend over, stick your ass in the air and let them do what they want to you. And again, that alongside of this migration speech being illegal, people ain't pretending anymore. This is how it's going to be. There's people pulling strings and you're going to do what you're told. And you can't even criticise it. I mean, I wonder at what point what I've just said, is it going to become illegal retroactively? If these laws are put in place in 6 months, of what I just said going to be then deemed illegal? But like I said, thankfully, they're not even pretending anymore. And all this stuff is building up, and all this stuff is turning heads. All this stuff is starting to raise eyebrows. And when all those eyebrows stay raised, when all those heads continue to turn, and when the 2021 census is published, should be interesting. But anyway, that's topics for another day. But absolutely over the moon for Dan, absolutely over the moon for Way of the World. If you don't subscribe to the Iconoclast and Way of the World, go and do so. Give them some support. Fantastic. I didn't even know about Way of the World, so nice one, Google. Brilliant channel. I've been binge watching it like crazy. And obviously I know damn well we do the Three Stooges together, so great stuff. Also, a little bit more kind of around the same area, I made it to a list. I finally made it to a hate list or something. So some social sciences professors, social sciences is such a dube. Is it a science? I don't think so. Guessing. So the social guessers, they put these lists together because they wanted to show how people are radicalized on YouTube. Endless attacks on YouTube, of course, because we're gaining influence. We're getting more views and more clicks than the legacy media, which is falling apart, as you'll see when we get to the guts of this particular video. But in their research, they created 3 groups: the alt-right, the alt-right, the alt-light, woo. Whoever wants to be part of something light, not quite anything. Well, I'm on that list. I'm alt-light, apparently. And the Iconoclast is in there as well. And there's a few others. I'll put a link to this in the description so you can see it. And then on the right, you've got the intellectual dark web. And it's just absurd. Like Tim Pool. Left wing but sort of right supporting weirdo Tim Pool made it to the intellectual dark web. Absolutely absurd. Guess who else is in the intellectual dark web? Sinatra Says. SJW basher Sinatra Says is in the intellectual dark web. I thought the intellectual dark web was the Brett Weinsteins and the Jordan Petersons of this world. Sinatra Says. Anyway, I made it on a list. It says it there. Dangerfield. I'm in between Bering and Count Dankula. Bering? As I said on Twitter, these lists are to show people how people get radicalized on YouTube. Come to my channel and see about how I done a poo in the street whilst nicking a garden gnome and get radicalized. Come to my channel and indulge in the nostalgia of how we used to find bags of pornographic magazines in the bushes. Next stop, Hitler. It's just absurd. But always nice to make a list. I've had a subscriber bump for it. And like I say, I'll put a link in the description. And there's loads of people on there you might want to subscribe to. So nice one, social scientists, for giving us these tips of interesting and dissident content. Anyway, what I want to talk about briefly today is an article in the New York Times. And it blew my mind. Along with this migration speech and along with all the along with Owen Jones today, standing up there, they're like some orator. Owen Jones, this sort of weak, sort of anemic, broken child, and he's up there like Zarathustra. We will fight them on the beaches. What? And he's literally saying, because if you don't know a little bit of background, Boris Johnson has basically pulled an absolute number on them. Right, Parliament, Commons, who are there to support the wishes of the people. That's what you're there for. And the people wished, dare I say, voted democratically to leave the European Union. Yeah, we done that when Obama was in power. Do you remember? When we still lit our caves with oil lamps? Yeah, we done that when his name was Barack. Remember him? Mixed race bloke, didn't do anything. Bombed Jordan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 years solid. That's when we done it. And now Trump is 3/4 of the way through his first term. And we're still in Brexit. We're still in the European Union. We're still in the totalitarian, authoritarian nightmare that is the EU, which is currently banning, criticising migration into Europe. We're still in it. It's amazing that Remainers think they're fighting the elite. They're fighting the establishment. And they want to be a part of that institution, the one that's banning, criticising migration into our countries. These people, shocking. Anyway, Parliament, the Commons. Boris has gone to the Queen and said, Eliza, my darling, we've got a problem. The people over there who are meant to implement the wishes of the people are actually not. They've decided not to. They've decided they want to do their own thing. So if you could just shut them up for a while, we can let the clock roll down and we can get the fuck out of this mess. And Eliza, as she's prone to do, is kind of leave politics to politics. So the chances are she's going to. And Owen Jones ain't happy. Owen Jones wants people to go on strike. A general strike he's called for. And as the wonderful Morgoth in Morgoth's review has said, all the people on Twitter, all the blue check marks, all the Remainers, all the Owen Jones anal fanboys, they're all like herbal healers and sort of foot masseuses and white witches. If these people went on strike, the economy would probably function better. No one's going to miss these people. But it does get a bit more worrying because on top of that, he said we should storm the Houses of Commons and Remainers should just stay in Parliament, just refuse to move. Fair enough. If the Queen agrees to let it close down, you're just keeping the seats warm. What a little twit that boy is. And, power hungry. These people will let the country just absolutely fail into a third world hellhole if it meant they could get power. Because it's all they want. It's all they want so they can implement their socialist utopia. The one that's gone so well so many times historically. But chill. It'll be different this time. And why will it be different? Why will the communist dream be different this time? Because they'll implement it correctly. And you know what Jordan Peterson says about people like that? When you hear these fucking neo-communists, neo-Marxists, when you hear them saying that when they implement the communist utopia, it will work, Peterson says, when you hear people say something like that, run the fuck away. Yeah, these are terrifying people. What, you don't think Lenin said that? You don't think Stalin said that? You don't think Pol Pot said that? You don't think fucking, what's his name? Can't remember his name. I was out there one time when he was in power. Hugo Chavez said that. You don't think Chairman Mao said that? Piles and piles of bodies of their own people. Anyway, I digress. I see this thing in the New York Times, and as I just said before I tangented, alongside all this stuff that's going on, I don't like the clown world meme, but it's unavoidable sometimes. I'm looking at this article and I'm like, who does not have enough brains to see what's happening here? This is just it's right for me but not for thee par excellence. Let's have a look at the article. Here we go. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's fucking long. And it's long intentionally. I mean, this is NLP. It's just repeat, indoctrinate, get it into your head. It's NLP. Just keep saying those things over and over again and they start leaving actual physical traces in your brain. And all those NPCs who lap up this propaganda while they're wearing their blinkers to avoid reality, they're quite happy to do that. And then they go out among their people, they go out among the streets, they sit in front of their computer, and those repetitions like echoes come out of them, come out of their mouths, come out of their fingers, and these phrases, these repeated mantras go out into the world and start affecting reality. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing because you don't need to. It's just the same bullshit over and over again. Anyway, check out the language. Trump allies target journalists over coverage deemed hostile to the White House. To translate that, people who support Trump are attacking people who attack Trump because of stuff they've said against Trump. Sounds like basic politics to me. That's a headline though now. Oh, you can't bring the truth to us. That's our job. And that's what runs through this like the spine of the biggest river in bullshit land ever. Listen to the language. The operation has compiled dossiers of potentially embarrassing social media posts and other public statements by hundreds of people who work at prominent news organisations. Now, let me think. Hang on. Compiling dossiers. Operation and dossiers is amazing. It's just bollocks. People have compiled potentially embarrassing social media posts and other public statements by hundreds of people who work at prominent news organisations. You can drop operation, you can drop dossiers, trying to make it sound like some John le Carré novel, the journalist who came in from the cold. This is bullshit. And when I read that, hang on, I know this. I know this idea of compiling embarrassing social media posts to attack people who you don't agree with politically. I know that idea. Now, where do I know that idea from? Oh yeah, the fucking mainstream media for the last 50 years. This is insane. This is what they do. This is what they do. If they don't like someone, they dig them up. They find things they've said before and they use it against them like weaponry. This is bullshit. But oh no, it's all right for them. It's all right for me, but not for thee. Washington. A loose network. Operation, dossier, network. A loose network means no network at all. It means group of people. I'm not going to keep questioning the language, but I do want you, as you listen to this, to remain sensitive to the language used, because it's intentional, it's dramatic, it's hostile. A loose network of conservative operatives. I can't not bring attention to it because it's balmy. A loose network of conservative operatives. Allied with the White House. The White House have totally said no. They're nothing to do with us. They obviously support Trump, but they've said we're not working with them. But allied, that deliberately vague language would suggest that they're all in this together. They might be, but the White House has denied it. Again, a loose network of conservative CIA gun-toting maniacs allied with the White House, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon, is pursuing what it will say will be an aggressive operation to discredit news organisations deemed hostile to President Trump by publicising damaging information about journalists, it said with one full stop at the end. In this latest step in a long-running effort by Mr. Trump. Hang on. No proof of that. No proof of that. No proof that he's involved. in this latest step in a long-running effort by Mr. Trump and his allies to undercut the influence of legitimate news reporting. Oh, you can't do that. You can't. Hang on a minute. We're the New York Times. We have had considerable power over the last fucking half a decade, if not more. And we have used it violently. We have used it politically to absolutely discredit whoever we wanted, whenever we wanted. And you think you can do that to us? No. Bend it, shake it. Why not? Doesn't feel good, does it? Ooh, must be awful. Isn't it amazing what the likes of YouTube have done? Isn't it amazing? You know, we get angry about censorship, as we should. We get angry about the rules and regulations and all the other bullshit. We get angry that the internet, which was one of the most amazing historical eruptions ever, has turned into history's most successful surveillance operation, and we should get angry. Nonetheless, it still functions. Nonetheless, we are still getting to say our bit. And it's working. And they can't hack it. Look at that. To undercut the influence of legitimate news reporting. Not like those YouTubers, no. Not like those independents. You know, there's plenty of them. No, we're legitimate. You know, we're the New York Times. New York Times, you know it. New York Times. Everyone loves us. No, we're all right. We're legitimate. You know why? You know, we're legitimate. You've got blogs. Blogs is just some bird high on fucking Vicodin writing about how she feels. That's just a blog. Oh no, we're the New York Times. When we write stuff, it's legitimate. Yeah. It's not a blog. It's not like journalism has only ever just been what blogs are. People telling you what they think. Because we don't see any investigative reporting anymore. We don't see people finding shit out. We see them quoting Twitter. Oi, New York Times, you bloggers, deal with it. 4 people familiar with the operation describe how it works, asserting that it has compiled dossiers of potentially... Oh, here we go. Hang on. Didn't you say this 2 paragraphs ago? Now, okay, compiled dossiers of potentially embarrassing social media posts and other public statements by hundreds of people who work at some of the country's most prominent? What does that mean? You're well known? I think PewDiePie is a bit more known than you, isn't he? Gets more hits, without a doubt. I think Sargon probably gets more views than the New York Slimes. Anyway, the group has already released information about journalists at CNN. Oh, not CNN. They'd never do this. CNN has never dug up information about people to use against them in a political arena. No. They wouldn't do that because they are, legitimate news reporters. The Washington Post, no, they wouldn't do that either. They've never done that. That doesn't ring any bells. And the New York Times, no, clean as you like. They're you know where I'm going with this. 3 outlets that have aggressively investigated Mr. Trump. Yes, you have. It's weird how it comes back to you, isn't it? In response to reporting or commentary that the White House's allies consider unfair to Mr. Trump and his team or harmful to his re-election prospects. Oh, right. Sounds like politics to me. Sounds like modern journalism to me. Sounds like what you people have been dining out on for the last fucking 50, 60, 70, God knows how long years. Operatives have closely examined more than a decade's worth of public posts and statements by journalists. The people familiar with the operation said only a fraction of what the network claims to have uncovered has been made public, the people said. Who are these people? The 4. The mysterious unnamed ones. The people said, with more to be disclosed as the 2020 election heats up. The research is said to extend to members of journalists' families, which on the face of it seems a bit wrong, who are active in politics. Oh, all right. So the research is said to extend to members of the journalist families who are active in politics. So it's extended to people who are active in politics. Okay, same as what you've been doing for God knows how long. As well as liberal activists. Oh, other people involved in politics, as well as other political opponents of the president. Other people involved in politics. So to translate that line, the research is said to extend to people who are active in politics, as well as people who are active in politics, as well as people who are active in politics. Oh, how dare they! It is not possible to independently assess the claims about the quantity or potential significance of the material that pro-Trump network has assembled. Some involved in the operation have histories of bluster and exaggeration. Bluster and exaggeration. Now, if I was asked to think of 2 words to describe some dominant themes of the mainstream media, I wouldn't be surprised if it were bluster and exaggeration, if I wasn't allowed to use bullshit and lies, or propaganda and lies. And those willing to describe its techniques and goals may be trying to intimidate journalists or their employers. That seems like a familiar strategy. Now, where have I heard that? CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. I don't know where where the familiarity of these tactics lies. But the material publicised so far, while in some cases stripped of context, who would do that? Exactly. Or presented in misleading ways. Come on! This is insanity. Material stripped of context, material presented in misleading ways. This is mainstream media 101. But don't forget, what's alright for me is not for thee, or thee, you know what I'm saying. It has. Oh, this material has proved authentic. It's real, it's true. And much of it has been professionally harmful to its targets. Oh, ow. What's that feel like? Oh, you people, you journalists who've been doing nothing but this for your entire fucking careers. What's it like coming back to you? Never knew it was a boomerang when you were throwing it out there, did you? Wow. You could always learn to code. It is clear from the cases to date that among the central players in the operation is Arthur Schwartz. A combative, he's trouble. A combative 47-year-old conservative consultant who is a friend and informal advisor to Donald Trump Jr., the president's eldest son, like you needed telling. Mr. Schwartz has worked with some of the right's most aggressive operatives. It's like they're military figures. They're most aggressive operatives. They're doing the same as you. They're doing the same as what you have done for your entire history. But now they're aggressive operatives. This is military in nature. They might as well just be assassinating you. I mean, this is just murder. Including the former Trump advisor, Stephen K. Bannon. Love Bannon. If the @New York Times thinks this settles the matter, we can expose a few of their other bigots, Mr. Schwartz tweeted on Thursday in response to an apologetic tweet from a Times journalist whose anti-Semitic social media post has just been revealed by the operation. There's lots more where this come from. Absolutely amazing. The New York Times journalist has had anti-Semitic posts revealed, and there's lots more where this come from. Sit back, take a cigarillo and a warm milk and honey, because this is going to be awesome. This is the mainstream media looking in the mirror and at Schwartz. There's a picture of the God Emperor Trump telling the mainstream media, it's curtains for you lot. Hey, it's curtains for you lot. Sorry, I will never do that again. Now, the operation is the latest step in a long-running effort by President Trump and his allies to undercut the influence of legitimate news reporting. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. The information unearthed by the operation has been commented on and spread by officials inside the Trump administration and re-election campaign, as well as conservative activists and right-wing news outlets such as Breitbart. It's always Breitbart. Whenever they say right-wing news outlets, it's always Breitbart because they've closed most of them down. Most of them have been called far-right, alt-right, Nazi, fascist. The only one that's left they can legitimately call conservative is Breitbart. It's the only one anyone knows. In the case of the Times editor, the news was first published by Breitbart. What a surprise. Immediately amplified on Twitter by Donald Trump Jr. and, among others, Katrina Pearson, a senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't people around the Trump campaign, son of the God Emperor Trump, why wouldn't they repeat these things? Why wouldn't they attack you politically in exactly the same manner you've been attacking them for fucking eternity? Why wouldn't they? Don't you like it? Does it hurt? Oh, it feels good where I'm sitting. Suck it up, mainstream media. Your days are numbered. And quickly became the subject of a Breitbart interview with Stephanie Grisham, the White House press secretary and communications director. There you go. It goes on and on. But look, I'll leave a link to this in the description. Brilliant. It's not particularly exciting that people have decided to use their tactics back at them. I mean, it's good. But what's amazing is the fucking arrogance of these people. Hang on a minute. You can't do that. No, we're influential. No, we're proper. No, we're real. We're actual. We've got authority. We're not like you. We're not just normal people. We drink in exclusive bars. We've got 7-figure salaries. What are you doing? Confusing us with the proletariat. Oh, come on. It's insane. Why? Just this whole article, this whole attitude, this kind of shock, this kind of report as if it's like, oh, it just shows you the absolute disdain these fuckers have for ordinary men and women. For ordinary people. They think they're better than us. They think they're superior. I have visions of that movie Society, all this lot getting together, having orgies and turning into lizards and just a pit of disgusting degeneracy laced with cocaine and a swimming pool of champagne. Well, I'm sorry, people. Your own disgusting, unethical, immoral behaviour has come home to roost.